listening to The Radiator, and now is Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK, and with us in the studio today, we have Kevin O'Shaughnessy.
Thank you for having us. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yes, and friends in the studio as well. So just to kick things off, I always like to just have everyone introduce their name and what instrument they're playing. So how about
Where's that mic?
Yeah, go around and tell us your name and your instrument so our listeners know who they're listening to.
My name is Frank Barnes, and I'm very hoarse, and I play the bass.
Thanks, Frank.
I'm Clark LaPlante, and I play drums.
Sweet.
I'm Dakota Cook, and I play guitar.
And I'm Kevin O'Shaughnessy, and I play guitar and sing.
In the flesh. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit more about your Vermont origin story. I saw in your bio your family is in Montpelier.
Yes.
So, yeah, what's the story?
What's the story? Okay, so I came to Vermont by way of California, by way of Connecticut, by way of Boston. So it's been kind of a winding thing.
Yeah.
And actually, that's sort of in reverse, where I was born in California, raised in Connecticut, spent about 20 years in Boston. And after a while, it just got really freaking expensive to live in Boston. So my wife and I packed up the kids and moved up here to Vermont. That's
Nice.
kind of the long and the short of it.
Yeah. How have you been finding the music scene here, like versus obviously playing for so long in the Boston scene?
It's very eclectic, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just a lot of different varieties. Big bluegrass. There's some rock, obviously, around Burlington. It's huge. I wish there was a way to make a little bit more money at it, but other than that, I mean, it's a great scene.
Totally, yeah. No, lots of talent. And then how did you all find each other? So what is the origin story for how you met all of these lovely people surrounding you?
Well, I should probably start with Clark, if you don't mind. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So this poor bastard right here has been, he and I have been friends since junior high school. So that's a really long time. And we've been kind of following each other around the country ever since too. He moved up to Vermont before I did. So, that was, no, I'm not going to say how long that was. Anyway, it was a long time ago. We met in grade school. Frank found me. I was looking for a bass player. Actually, that was one thing that I did find very difficult around here as far as the music scene was concerned, was finding a competent bass player. So I was doing a pretty active search on Facebook and such. Frank answered that, and he fit right in. And similarly with Dakota over here, I started actively looking for a second guitar player, which took a little while. And Dakota's like, hey, I like your stuff. Let's jam. I said, okay, let's do it. And it worked. So that's
Sweet.
how the whole band came together.
Yeah, nice. Well, thanks for all being here tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I think that was a great little intro, so we'd love to hear your first song. So what have you got for us?
Fantastic. So this first one is an instrumental. It's called Brace Yourself.
Brace yourself.
Right on.
Sweet. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit more about this song. And are all of these songs that you're playing tonight, are they a part of a new project? Are you revisiting some?
It's a mix of stuff. So that was
Yeah.
the lead off track for my album Persistence of Vision.
Mhm.
And it was one of these tunes. God, this is set in the Wayback Machine too far. So again, I'm not going to say that. So I came up with that first riff,
Mhm.
and this was at a time where I was actually really heavy into Dave Matthews Band at the time. If you can believe that, listening to that song, man, what? Yeah, I was heavy into Dave Matthews Band. But before that, I was into all kinds of like hard rock and heavy metal and all that stuff. Until rock kind of metal went the way of the dinosaur thanks to grunge, and I couldn't really get into grunge, so I got into Dave Matthews Band and stuff instead. So I came up with that riff, and I came up with another riff for another song that also ended up on that album, and I was thinking about how would I put this on an acoustic guitar? And ultimately the answer was, I'm not. And I kind of thought, well, you know what? I was always an electric guitar player. I should be an electric guitar player. Who cares if nobody wants to listen to it? So that's exactly what I did. I called him up. I said, hey, I got this idea. He said, send me some tracks. So I did. He's like, that's pretty good. So so then Clark said, cut the drums out of the demo and let me see what I can do with it. So he sent me a track. Well, it wasn't a tape. We're not that old.
I think we were mailing CDs back and forth at that point.
That might have been, yes, mailing CDs. That's what it was. We weren't quite at the MP3 emailing stage yet. But so he came in and was he laid down some drum tracks on it, and I was like, oh, that's nice. That's hot. That's going to be cool. So I finished out the song, and long and the short of it, we finally had a break. He was living in Pittsburgh at the time. I was living in Boston. We finally had a couple of months where we could start tracking some songs together, and that was the first one.
Sweet. So, in terms of like your writing process, is that typically how songs come to you? Like, do you usually hear a riff? I know that it might be different, like with an instrumental track versus some of the ones with lyrics.
Yeah, it's different every time. I can tell you that if I have a complete lyric, because the rest of the songs have vocals on them, if I have a complete lyric, it's a lot easier to write the tune because the lyric will tell me basically what the music should be. With an instrumental, like I knew that was going to be an instrumental. I love guys like Joe Satriani and Steve Vai, so I'm like, this is going to be one of those tunes. And it's like, okay, great. But if I've got a lyric, I can write the melody and I can write the chords. Then I can come up with the riff, and then I can come up with the arrangements and stuff like that. The arrangements are where things get a little haphazard and I get a little experimental, and it's kind of weird. But most of the time that works out pretty well.
Yeah.
And then, but with the instrumentals, yeah, the thing that really stinks when writing a song is if I come up with a riff first that I think should have lyrics to it, because then it takes me forever to come up with a lyric that fits the vibe of the riff.
Yeah.
So I know some people do it that way. They're like, oh, the riff is everything. For me, I'm like, the riff I can come up with later. If I got the lyric, that gives me the point, and then that gives me the focus for the music. But the instrumental, that was something a little different. It was like, okay, so I didn't come up with a title for this until the tune was almost done. And that's when I was like, okay, now I got to name this thing. What is it going to be?
Yeah.
And that was where, I was like, well, it's kind of powerful, but it's not like kicking down the doors or anything like that. And finally it just hit me. I was like, oh, brace yourself. Yeah, it's nice. So then I decided, even though I didn't have an album at the time, I'm like, this is going to be the start of my album.
Yeah.
And that was it. So that's how that one came about.
Love it. It's always just such a different process for everyone. So it's always interesting to hear. So in terms of like what you hear in your head when you're composing, and then bringing it to other musicians, do you kind of have a sense of what the other instrumentation is like, or do you just kind of leave that in the hands of your fellow musicians?
I'm moving to now that I actually have a band, because for a long time I didn't. I made my career as a mix of session work, producing music for other writers, and teaching. And so I could only work on my music during breaks in all of that.
Right.
So my own writing process, that's where it started to become a little haphazard, because I had to kind of, let me do this here, let me do that there. Oh, I got this project I've got to take on now, so because I got to make money. So then I would do that. So with these guys, like there's a song that we've had in the set list. Usually what I end up doing is putting together a full demo. And here's your part, here's your part, here's your part. And I kind of arrange the whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's one in particular that we've been working on where, Dakota's pretty new to the group. And I'm just like, I haven't figured out what I want you to play on this. So come up with something. And he did. And it sounds great. And then we fine-tuned it a little bit. And it was awesome. And, I gave some ideas to Clark. Clark embellished it, changed a few things. I want to play it this way. Okay, great. Let's see how that sounds. Frank came up with some bass parts for it. And so I like that it's becoming a lot more collaborative.
Yeah.
Because it saves a lot of time, and you guys are really good. So I think it works out.
Totally. Yeah. And cool to know that you also have a background in production and also teaching. So obviously that's like all layers of music. How do you feel like the experience with like production and teaching also like informs what you're doing with this project and how you work with other people?
Fortunately, I don't have to do a ton of teaching because these guys pick it up really quick.
Right.
But it is interesting though, because with any band, and I'm sure any of the bands that have been on the show will probably tell you, you got 4 people or 5 or 3 or however many there are. There's always different personalities, and you've got to, it's my name on the marquee, so to speak. So, and I'm the one writing the bulk of the tunes. So, I'm the leader in that regard, but I still have to make sure that these guys are getting creatively fulfilled. Whenever I can, I make sure they're financially fulfilled. And stuff like that. So there's a lot of managing there, and you have to take care of that in production. You have to do that in teaching. You're sitting across the room from one kid who's got all the talent in the world, but he's as quiet as a church mouse, and you're trying to like have a conversation. Those kinds of things can be sort of challenging, And then you got kids that are bouncing off the wall or whatever. So you have to be able to adapt very quickly. To those situations and the different personalities.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And do you feel like you're kind of like, I don't know what the good word for it is, but I guess like your calling, do you feel like you've been called to perform? Like, was producing and teaching something that you like also felt very strongly about, or was that something that you were kind of like doing in the meantime? How would you kind of explain, or are you a jack of all trades that enjoys all of it?
Well, I've come to enjoy all of it. So the production, I came to the production out of necessity, because a lot of times I will hear full arrangements in my head, maybe not for a whole song or anything like that, but like I'll know the sound that I'm going for, but I'm not always that good at describing it to somebody or getting that across. And sometimes there's, technical things that I need to, like whether it's sound effects or, arrangement techniques or things like that. And I'm not always the best at explaining that. I mean, when I went to music school, we learned how to score things out. So I can write a score, I can write a chart. I'm like, play this. But of course, a lot of rock guitar players, a lot of rock musicians, a lot of musicians in general, they don't read music, which is fine. I have no beef about that. But for me to then explain it is sometimes difficult.
Right.
And in my earlier days, when the computer technology was just cost prohibitive, or in its infancy and didn't really you couldn't really do much with it anyway. I was always struggling to get my ideas out. So as I started to learn production, as I started to actually be able to afford some gear and a good computer and all that kind of stuff, I was like, finally, I can now just put all my ideas down and then give it to everybody and say, this is what I'm looking for. And they're like, oh, of course. Yeah, that makes so much more sense now. The way you're describing it was stupid. So that's how that kind of works. And the teaching, I came into the teaching, again, kind of out of necessity because I needed money. But it was the kind of thing that by the time I did start teaching, I'd been doing what I was doing long enough that I knew that I could teach something different and I could teach things in a way that other people weren't teaching. Yeah. So I got very good at it. pretty quickly and very successful at it. So
Totally.
it all just built into the career. But I mean, like every kid, I just wanted to be a rock star, man. I want to play
Yeah.
my guitar, and that's all.
No, fair enough. So were you teaching guitar specifically, or did you also teach like any like songwriting?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
The bulk of my students were guitar, but I also taught piano, and I taught music theory, and I taught songwriting, and to a smaller extent, production.
Oh, sweet. The whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of like your writing nowadays, like how often are you finding inspiration to write new material?
Every time I turn on the TV,
Yeah.
or the news, or well, not so much the news. I don't tend to write a lot of socially relevant stuff. I'm not the guy who's going to write like the next Rockin' in the Free World kind of thing. Every time I try, it comes out cheesy. Although the tune we're debuting later on, "Reach Out Our Hands," could be kind of close, I suppose. But yeah, no, there's always something. I mean, the stuff that I tend to write about is more either personally relevant or not just me myself, but just people, that kind of thing. So it tends to be about that. So whether it's an experience that I had in my life that I think, oh, hey, that might be a good subject for a song, or something I've observed with other people. I mean, I do that a lot. I tell the people a lot of times that every story of all of my songs, they're all true.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not all my stories.
Right.
I tend to write in the first person because it sounds better, but they're not all my stories, but they're all true.
Yeah, totally. Are there any like outside sources that you get for inspiration, like any like artists you're listening to right now that are inspiring you, or books, media?
I tend, I will get inspired by just about anything that I hear. Really, the ones, I tend to go back to my roots a lot.
Yeah.
Like some of my earlier influences were bands like Van Halen, Bon Jovi, Metallica, and I like mixing all of that stuff together. Obviously, there's Joe Satriani and Steve Vai that I mentioned, but I also grew up listening to jazz, and I grew up listening to classical music, and I grew up listening to, the pop music of the day, which was like, the Fifth Dimension and the Carpenters and stuff like that. My mom was a big fan of them.
Yeah.
So, and film music. I loved, John Williams and Jerry Goldsmith and James Horner, and all of it kind of makes its way into my writing in one way, shape, or form at some point or another. So that's really where it all comes together somewhere.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm a big proponent of listening to a bunch of different genres of music, because you never know where that inspiration might come from.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, we would love to hear your second song of the night. So
All right.
what will it be?
So this is a happy little tune called "Who Am I?" Am I just another singer setting music to my woes? Am I a peddler of wild oats who never learned to sow? Am I a master and commander with no one left to lead? Or a fugitive who can't stop running even though he's free? I can't stop thinking, this sinking feeling, this will not end well. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Am I just another dreamer
Who Am I? Kevin O'Shaughnessy. Sweet. Good stuff.
Thank you.
So take us through this one. What inspired you to write Who Am I? And yeah, what does it like, mean to you?
So it actually, that one started out as a simple lyric exercise. Actually, it was just, I wanted to see how many of these contrary couplets I could come up with.
Yeah.
And I came up with a bunch of them, and I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then I looked at sort of the pattern of it. I was like, hey, there's something in there. So I just kind of, placed it around, moved some things around, and came up with the verses that way. And then just said, all right, well, this sounds like a dude in an identity crisis. So, the chorus kind of wrote itself at that point.
Right.
And then the last step of it was just coming up with that bridge, just that little bit of contrast. And it was like, so when it all came together, it was pretty quick. It's like, okay, this dude's a hot mess and he doesn't want to be.
Yeah.
Simple enough, And then when it came to, so I had that lyric was all done. Then it was easy to kind of put the chords and the melody to it. And then when it came to the arrangement, I was like, let's put a sense of urgency to it. Let's this guy really wants to stop being a hot mess, like now, and that's to me, that's what that whole tune really, really brings up.
Yeah.
I hope, well, I don't hope actually, but I assume that a lot of us have been there at least once or twice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that came from.
No, totally. So how would you kind of describe like the feeling of when you know what songs are going to go on a project or an album? So obviously these past two were grouped together, correct? So like,
Yes.
how would you describe, like, 'cause if you're writing often, I figure it kind of might be, is it difficult for you to weed through to know which ones fit, or is it easy?
Sometimes I have to, yeah, that's a great question. I do have to go through things. I'll find, usually it'll be, I'll find that one lyric that I think, ooh, hey, this is a good one. And then I'll go through my notes and I will find others that kind of match that mood or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And so with my album, Persistence of Vision, which was actually released a few years ago, that one was trickier because half of the tunes that were on it were recorded by me and Clark in the early 2000s. But it took me 10 years to finally get enough time to get the rest of the songs recorded.
Yeah.
And by then, 10 years is kind of a long time. So, I had the songs that he and I recorded, and then I was in a different headspace completely by the time I was writing the next batch of songs.
Yeah.
So it became, at that point, about finding the songs that could, I guess, create a bit of an arc over the course of an album.
Yeah.
So it starts kind of in one mood, but ends in another mood. And the whole journey of getting from one side to the other became the challenge. And that's where I found the instrumentals, from an album standpoint, that's where the instrumentals came in handy. Because I could open and close the album with instrumentals.
Totally.
And then the one middle song I was having trouble with, I'm like, but I've got an instrumental for that, and it's got the right mood, even if it doesn't have any words.
Yeah.
So that's, by the time the whole album was done, it was 10 songs, 3 of which were instrumentals, and while they weren't necessarily related by a specific theme, like a lot of artists do, because they tend to write in groups, this was all collected over the course of years, but it had an arc to it. So that's kind of what I look for. I look for some sort of connecting thread in the songs, but it's not always a linear progression. Sometimes it has an arc, or sometimes it changes moods.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So where are you at now in the writing process? Do you have like a batch of songs that you've been sitting on?
I've got like 50 of them.
Yeah. Take us through that. Like, do you kind of have an idea of like what that next arc would be?
I don't. Sort of. I'm kind of toying around with an idea. What I have are, I have ideas for individual songs, some of which I've played bits and pieces of to the guys already.
Yeah.
I also have ideas for things that I want to accomplish in songs, but I don't have any music written for it yet.
Okay.
So, like, I know So for example, because who knows when I'm actually going to be able to get to record it. So for example, I came up with this one idea where I wanted to have the last song on the album, the very end of it, have overlapping choruses from some of the other key songs on the record. So the very end of it, all of this stuff. And I finally figured out how to do that.
That's cool.
I don't have any of the songs written that are going to do that sort of thing, but I know that that's something that I want to accomplish at some point. So I get ideas like that.
Yeah.
And I'll put them down on the phone, or I'll get a lyric idea, or I'll get something else. And, every couple of weeks or so, I'll flip through something and I'll say, oh, yeah, that's a good one. Let me pull that one out. Or let me do something with that. And then I just start stockpiling. I have a folder this thick of lyrics, another notebook. So there's a whole bunch of stuff. And at least for now, I don't throw anything out. Because if recording Persistence of Vision taught me anything, is that it's with the creative process, for me anyway, obviously I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, there are riffs and there are lyrics. Almost nothing is necessarily bad, but I might not have the experience to express it. Like I can't really, like, this is a good idea. I think that's a good idea, but I don't know how to tell that story just yet.
Yeah.
Or I don't know how to express this musical idea in a way that makes sense. And so I hang on to it. And then after a certain amount of life experience goes by, and sometimes it could be a few months, sometimes it could be years or more years, it could be any amount of time really. And it's the kind of thing where I'll pick it up again and I'll think, oh, now I know what this means. Now I know how to tell this story. Actually, one of the songs that we're gonna play at the end is like that. I wrote it in one frame of mind. I was pretty much done with it. And then years later, I came back to it and I was like, oh no, this means something different now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add a bridge to it. Okay, now I've got a song. Now I've got something I could work with. But at the time, I just kind of wrote it and I was like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
But now I do. And that's kind of how that works sometimes.
Totally. No, that's cool how the meaning can change throughout time. So how often are all of you coming together and collabing or rehearsing and trying out the new material?
Roughly once a week.
Oh,
but
sweet.
yeah, generally, we try to do that. Although occasionally we'll do online stuff. Clark is a pretty busy session drummer around here himself, so a lot of it goes around his schedule as well.
Yeah.
Dakota's new, so that's he's got to show up whenever we tell him. That's right. That's right. And so we've all got other commitments and things like that. So we fit it in when we can, but the goal is once a week.
Totally. And you're all coming from kind of like different areas of Vermont, correct?
Yeah,
So
he's got the.
Bennington.
okay, yeah. So definitely. So where are you all congregating?
At my place. It
Nice.
seems to be the most central location.
Okay.
So
Whatever
yeah.
works.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it's right in the middle, almost. Frank is still the MVP of this because he's you got 2-hour drive for rehearsal? Yeah. 2:45, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And Frank was here early.
I know.
So,
Everybody was here early.
Yeah.
I was the late one. Here I am. I'm like, 6:15. Nobody's going to be here this early. What am I doing? I'm like, it's so cool. I thought I was ahead of everybody. And then I was like, no, we've been here for an hour. What?
trust me when I say that 6:15 was also good. We've had people roll in way too late sometimes. So we appreciated all of you for arriving,
Yeah.
ahead of the game.
I've been on the receiving end of that too, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Never wanted to be that musician.
No, totally. Well, we appreciate it. Awesome. Well, I know this third song is a new one that you're premiering.
Yes.
So excited to hear the next one for that reason.
All right. So this next one, this is the big world premiere, and we'll just get into it. It's called "Reach Out Our Hands." Jealousy. Why can't we trust without fear of stand. We could lay down our arms and reach out our hand. Can we be proud without arrogance? Can we be strong without breaking each other? Can we feel safe without putting up walls while forgiving the sins of our fathers? If we could stand tall without making a stand, we could lay down our arms and reach out our hands. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I only learn when I fail. But too many times the path of the righteous has led those who follow to hell. You may believe it's just fantasy, all of the joy without one hint of sorrow. But I'm not naive. We may live in the dark, but I live for a brighter tomorrow. If we could stand tall without making a stand, we could lay down our arms and reach out our hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Reach out your hand. Your hand. Reach out your hands. Reach out your hands. Your hands.
Kevin O'Shaughnessy with the new tune. So, with this new song and with the ones that you've been writing recently, have you been finding that there's any like recurring themes that you're starting to think about? Or still figuring it out?
I'm still kind of figuring it
Yeah.
out. Like that one, that's another one. It started out a few years ago. And the original title was, what was the original title? No More Guns in the Valley. That's what it was about. That's what it was called. No More Guns in the Valley. And the idea behind it was how how long do we need to go before we stop trying to get even and we start getting along? You know, like, and I was thinking about it more in terms of some kind of relationship, friendship, you know, romantic, whatever, you know, but, you know, sometimes you end up in those situations where everybody's more concerned with who did what to whom, you know, and you just keep trying to one up the other person. And at what
Right.
point do you just lay down the guns and just like, oh, okay, look, nobody's going to win. And that's sort of where that came about. And I started working with that, and I was working with all kinds of analogies, and it was, you know, I thought, oh, maybe a wanted dead or alive kind of vibe might be, you know, and then I started thinking that was a little too obvious. So I started thinking about, you know, guns taking up arms and all that kind of stuff, and that's where that's where I kind of came up. Oh, if we lay down our arms, we can reach out our hands, and I thought that play on words was really cool. So with that helped me create the rest of the verses because I used a similar scheme for the rest of the verses. So you can see, like, you know, with me, like, there's always an inspiration, there's always an emotional motivation to get a song started, but I will often use very technical jump starts to get something rolling, and then after that, the ideas will come. So that's a large part of my writing process on that. So I would say, like, you know, that one right there, you know, it's a big one. Right now, I think for me personally, just the whole idea of burying the hatchet, you know, with whatever, you know, whoever, you know, has got the hatchet, I just want to bury it, you know. In my own life, I'd like to see that happen in the lives of other people. You know, I just feel like there's so much, well, I call it petty bickering, but it's not petty bickering because a lot of it's really important. But it's the kind of thing. It's like, you know, to realize that, you know, we're not always, you know, even though we're at each other's throats right now, we weren't always like that, you know. And again, whether that's a small group of people, whether it's a family or a country or whatever, you know, we weren't always at each other's throats. And we don't have to be like that. I may not live long enough to see that happen, you know, but that's what I'm looking for. That's where that song comes from. And that may very well be where a lot of this new batch of songs end up coming from, is that idea of just letting bygones be bygones and either learning how to get along or just get lost, you know, like that's the other option, you know, instead of just constantly, you know, butting heads with people all the time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we see a lot of it in today's age. So what's next, like, on the horizon for you? Where are you playing? Like, what are you working on? And how can we support you best?
Play this a lot. So the next thing we got a gig coming up on Sunday. We are playing for the celebration of expensive arts. Sorry, Jason. No, we're not expensive. We're pretty cheap. The celebration of expressive arts in Montgomery Center at the Inn. We'll be playing. The show starts at 7. We're playing up there that Sunday night, the 29th, so it's just a few days from now. So anybody who's listening who happens to be in that area or can get to that area within a reasonable amount of time, and I'm still figuring out what a reasonable amount of time is in Vermont standards, but if you can get there, 29th at the Inn, 241 Main Street, that's where we're playing next. So that's really the only thing that we've got kind of that, you know, we're really focused on right now is getting ready for that show.
Sweet.
Hopefully after that, I'll start introducing some new material to the guys, and we'll start playing out some more. But that's the next one we've got.
Yeah. Well, everyone listening, go out, listen to some good tunes. Awesome. Well, we're nearing the end of the show, and I know you have one more song. So, yeah, we're getting there. So what do you have as your finale?
Oh, the finale. All right. So this song, excuse me. So this is a tune I was talking about. I'd written in one sitting a while back and just kind of put it in a folder for a while. And this tune right here is called I Wish, and it's the current single that we have out. There's a video for it directed by my friend Tim Dunn. It's won a few short film awards, things like that. I even nabbed one for second place for best song in the Paris Film Festival, so I was pretty happy about that. And it's also making its way up through the competition of the Talent is Timeless songwriting competition as well. The winners, I think, are supposed to be announced next month. So
There you go.
I'm pretty happy about that. So here's another happy little tune. This is called I Wish. Hit it. Again, needing protection. I'm sorry to call on you, but only you could ward off all the demons. They're circling round and diving down and eating me alive from the inside out. Oh, angel, please deliver me from this hell. Oh, I wish that I could fly and soar up where you are. I wish that I could fly and soar up where you are. The sword I fall on. I try to be braver, but sometimes I think I'm too far gone. When I lose all this, it gets so intense. This internal hurricane is my last defense. Oh, angel, please don't leave me here where last I fell. But it's been so damn long, and I still don't know how to move on. If I had gone with you, maybe now I wouldn't miss you, and I wouldn't have to live with you, girl. If I had gone with you, maybe now I wouldn't miss you, and I wouldn't have to live with you, girl. I wish that I could fly and soar up where you are. I wish that I could fly and soar up where you are.
I wish. Kevin O'Shaughnessy. Well, Kevin, everyone else, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thanks for having us.
It was awesome to hear you, and make sure to let us know when you, have more material and you're ready to come on back. We'd love to have you.
I certainly will. Love to be here. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and listeners, thanks so much for tuning in to Rocket Shop Radio Hour tonight. We will not have a show next week or the following, but we will be back on July 16th with Kate Eternity, so make sure to tune in then. But as for now, I've been your host, Abby BK, and we hope you have a wonderful day or night. We'll see you next time.